Hi, everyone. It's Diane Evans here with stampinwithdiane.com. I'm an independent Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the interior of British Columbia. So if this is one of your first times joining me, welcome. I'm so glad that you have found me. Make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, which is just down below, or make sure that you give StreamYard permission so that I know who I'm talking to. So this is my Mystery Wednesday. Mystery Wednesday has changed and has evolved over the time. It used to be where I used to give measurements, tell you how to put a card together and everything else, but I wasn't creating enough is what was happening. So basically, this is why I came up with, oh, heavens, I don't know, almost a year ago now, I think. And that's where I give 3 clues. And that's something that you could possibly use in your from your studio or your craft room. Now, I was just advised earlier that somebody doesn't have gnomes or fairies. I think you could go gnomes, fairies, something fictional or something like that, and you could sort of work it into this. So I decided again I'm going to use gnomes. And this one, I think you'll start getting the gist of exactly what I'm trying to do with this particular card. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I've kind of put some elements together and we'll see what happens with it. So let me jump on down to my desktop here. So there we go. So this is really what I thought of and what I originally thought of, because one of the clues is green, the other clue is metallic, and the other one would be gnomes. So I thought, I could do some coloring and I could get some green gnomes and that sort of stuff. And then I thought, you know what, like this corresponds with the gnome dies. And honestly, it doesn't come as a bundle anymore, unfortunately, because this was with the Kindest Gnomes, which was a Christmas stamp. But now at least we can use this. It does coordinate with these. It does cut these little guys out here. But I want to use the actual dies to make a gnome. So let's get started on something like that. So I'll show you what I've got. Now, my green, I didn't go with hello. Well, we're going to hope that this turns out okay. And it's going to be a real mishmash of everything. Like I say, nothing really is going to go today. Um, well, it is, but I'm using a lot of different parts from different bundles or different dies or punches or whatever. So what I've done is I have cut out one of these in black, and I've got that cut out here. And these are the feet. And I am afraid to put these down because I do tend to lose things. I also have the beard cut out, and I have that cut out in white. So we've got that. And then I'm going to have the nose. I've got it cut out in petal pink, and that's one of these dies here. And they have 2 of those, which is amazing. Now you guys have to decide whether or not should I make sleeves with these guys or not. I do have where I can make some sleeves. And then I decided, well, the green is going to have to come in. So I've got this excellent stitched hat, the gnome hat, and we're going to use that on there. And then I've got some other things cut out here, and we're going to decide whether or not we want to use those or not. All right, so let's get started on this. So I've got some pear pizzazz, and I am using, and if you've noticed this here, this is from the second level Dandy Delights DSP that comes with Celebration. And this is still available. So you may want to, if you have enough for a level 2, is get this 48 pack of Designer Series paper. Honestly, this is fantastic paper. I absolutely love it. I've got this pear pizzazz. It is 5.5 by 8.5. I've scored it 4.25. Let's fold that into the mountain. And we're just going to get a good bone fold on there. And then I've got a couple of pieces of basic white. And this one happens to be, I'm not even sure what size it is. 3 3/4, and I kind of want to go a little lopsided, and then this one happens to be 3.5 by 4. Geez, I don't even know. 3.5 by 4 3/4, and I kind of wanted a little lopsided. This one just kind of makes me think that I don't want to go completely right. And then I used my deckled rectangles, and I've got one here and I've got one here, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. To me, there's a lot of layers on here, but I'm not sure if this gnome is going to show up on this white, and that was the reason for that. And I was thinking that maybe what I had done was I'd cut out another green one, but I hadn't. So this is kind of how I start putting some things together, is I just have it where it's sort of laying there. All right. So back at Christmas time, I went and I decided, hello everyone, I decided to make the thing that was going on was the dancing gnomes. But the dancing gnomes use the candy cane die. But guess what? You can make your own thing to do the dancing gnomes. So I'm going to come in here. When I do put my gnome together, I like the nose peeking out from the hat. I don't like it, on top, but that's just my personal preference. So we're going to glue a bunch of this stuff on. Let's glue that there. And then we're going to glue this hat on just like that. And we only put a tiny little bead around there. Now, from what I originally was going to do with this card, it has transformed so much. It was not at all what's going to be coming from this. All right, we do have this. So we're going to do the dancing gnomes. So what you want to do is cut a piece, and this is no different than kind of what you did before. Like I say, I've done this dancing gnome, but I did it with the candy cane dies. But this is 3/4 by 1 1/4. And what I did was I used the gnome or the gnome nose at that part right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue this, the boots or the legs on here. I call them boots. To me, we're just going to put that on there. And I want to make sure it's down far enough and that it's in between that part there. And it's glue, so we're just going to let it sit for a second. Hello. Yeah, Betty, I like the nose poking out. And then what's going to happen is this is going to go and this is going to dance like this. Now, at this point right now, I could turn around and put sleeves on this gnome too, like give him arms. So what I could do is, how I would do that is I go ahead and I would use the 2 toadstools for this. And I'm thinking to myself, should I have the sleeves? Should I put arms on this guy? You know what? I'm going to leave it off for now. I might do that another time. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start putting this kind of together. So like I say, I've got the green, I've got the gnome. I still have one more element that I've got to work into this, and that's gold. So like I say, I'm just doing this offset. I have to decide what I'm going to put this gnome on. Am I going to put it just onto the white, or am I going to put it onto, that happens to be Old Olive too, by the way. No arms. Okay. Well, Betty spoke up first, so we're not going to do any arms. The arms look adorable, though. They really do. All right. So now what I have to do is decide, am I going to leave it like this and have the legs coming out? And you know what? That might even work better than me doing this because there's too much green on there. All right, so let me go ahead and we're going to attach this to here, but we'll attach this in a bit. So what we want to do in order to make this so it's a dancing gnome is we're going to come in with a dimensional. And we're going to put a dimensional. Let's see, I want to make sure that this is about right. Yep, that's about right. I'm going to put that dimensional right in the center there. Okay. You're late coming to the gnome party. All right. So then what I also want to do is I want to have another dimensional right up here. And then we're going to put a dimensional right onto the back of this guy. And we'll come in with my take your pick tool. I know I had it, but you know what? I might just end up using my paper piercer. When these retired, I'd bought so many of them, but I give a lot of outside classes. So, all right, so this is just going to go down here. We're going to make sure all of those backings are off the dimensionals. We don't want this part to stick on there, on any of it except for, so this is just going to go like so. And then what happens is this moves back and forth. I think what had happened before was I went and I double dimensionalized this one. So I'm going to do that again. I did that with my other ones and I found it was better moving. There we go. They move better. When you they double dimensionalize that bottom one, it works better. All right, so we're going to end up putting that on there. But this, I think we need to make a little bit into something else. So now at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I need gold. So I can go ahead and I can emboss in gold. I have that option where I could take a sentiment and I could emboss in gold. I'm going to put that there. I could also, and I want to show you something. Remember the other day I had used my around the bend dies and I said, oh, I didn't use the heart dies. So I have this little heart dies and I had cut those out and I probably won't find them in this mess, but I might. So I have these hearts that are like this. And I thought what we could do was we could put these hearts up here. But you know what? I think I'm going to probably have lost parts of it. So I did make sure that I had some gold on my table because I don't know if you're noticing what route I'm going. Hello, Vicky from Australia. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I'm coming in with my blue baby boss, my boho blue. You know, if you want one of these, you can get this as part of a starter kit, you know, your starter kit. These are only exclusive to Stampin' Up Demonstrators. So, all right, so I'm thinking we're going to do this like this. Now, you notice how I kind of put that in there? I staggered it. That boho blue is a brand new color coming out too, so that's kind of fun. Right, so that's going to come off. There we go. Now, I'm going to leave this on this plate. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. And then maybe you'll start seeing what I'm trying to do with this particular card. All right, so we have a big one and we have 3 big ones and 3 little ones. So I'm just going to come and I think I'm going to use a couple of daubs of glue. I'm going to put a glue there. So I'm going to come in. Now I really should have my take your pick tool. I'm going to come in and change my take your pick tool to the proper end. And we're just going to put that in there. I'm hoping that this is going to, no, it's not going to. There we go. Now, this has the putty on the end. So I'm going to come in here, grab my heart. I'm just going to put it right like that. I'm going to put another little dab here. And another little dab over here. I'm going to come in with my small hearts. And another small heart. Probably going to have to move this. I can see I am going to have to move this just a bit. Are you seeing what this is forming? And now we're going to come in with our bigger heart. An Irish gnome, you're right. So, and I could have basically put a stem on it, but I didn't like the stems I had. And these hearts are so cute. Okay, there we go there. Now it really kind of needs a thing, right? It needs a stem coming down from it. So I have a tiny bit of the gold that's cut out, but I didn't like how it was working. And I know there's probably a die I could use for it. I could use this round die from this die set as well. That's where I got the hearts from. So let's see if I can cut that out with this. Like I say, sometimes I don't know exactly what I'm doing with the card until we get going on the cards. So let's bring this in. We'll bring in our bottom plate. Notice I'm using the light gray plate, which happens to be a number 3. I'm not using the number 1. Let's get this. And let's see if this is going to work. We don't even know if it's going to work, but we're going to give it a try. Okay. Let's see if that's going to give us a bit of a curve. You know what? It's not going to give me a curve that way, but it'll give me a guideline for a curve on the other side. And then I can just come in with my paper snips. Just like this. Who remembers old punch art? I wish we still did. We had enough punches to do punch art. I love punch art. Now probably I should have had this up, but let's see if I can get that in there in such a way. All right. So it's only short. Like I say, you're seeing this in action. Over the rainbow pot of gold. I know I thought of that. But I honestly, yeah, I could have done something with all of those too, right? Because this would have given some really neat. So this is going to go like this. I wish I hadn't glued that down completely. I might be able to get that up. Let's see. I could have put these on with glue dots as well. There we go. Actually, it probably should have gone on the inside part of it, but it'll be okay. And then this can go on here. Now, to me, that's a little too stark, so I'm going to come in with my blending brushes. And I've used Pear Pizzazz on the most of that, so I'm going to come in. This is the little one because I've got it already here. And we're just going to go in and get this, just because it's a little too stark for me. There we go. All right. So we have our gnome. We have him dancing. Then what else do we have here? Like I say, I could have put arms on this guy. But now what we want to do is we need to have a sentiment. And my thought process was maybe we could have a sentiment down here. I haven't put this on yet, so that might depend where this is going to go. But when I was looking through my stamps the other day, I found this one, and I thought this was really kind of a great one. It's so lucky to call you a friend, and lucky being with the luck of the Irish. So I thought that I would use that stamp, and let's see what that looks like. Now, I think I am going to have to, well, we could try it in a darker green, but you know what? I think I'm going to do it in the gold, and let's see if that works. So I have my Versamark. I always have my Versamark on my table. So lucky to call you a friend. Oh, I was going to do something else. I wonder if this will work. Okay, I have my gold. Oh my goodness, I know I used gold just yesterday. Let me just see what I'm going to do here. Let's try this in maybe white. Let's do it in gold. And I'm going to try something else. Let's do this. We'll heat set that. And actually, what I was going to do was I was going to try using those tag punch. I nailed it. Well, sometimes it's nice to use sentiments from different stamp sets so that you get a really good use for your cards, right? So we have this like this. And what my thought process was to use this punch on there, but it should have been from the other side. I thought it would be kind of neat to have it as a ticket punch. So let me just cut this here. This happens to be 3/4 of an inch. Let me just push that all the way in. Whoops. I have to open the punch. You know what? I can also do it on this end as well. There we go. Let me just cut this one off. And push it right in. And use that. And then it gives us a bit of a different edge there. Okay, so can you really see what that says? We don't want to interfere with that dancing. So I think what I'll do is I'll bring that down. And you know what? That probably should have been on a white piece of paper. Right? So let me grab a piece of white. This will work. This is a little bit bigger than 3/4 of an inch. This is almost an inch. So let me come in with my trimmer. This was another amazing thing for a starter kit at one point. It's pretty cool. Let's try that. And then let's go in and do that. Because say, as you're going along, you kind of change your mind, right? But I think I've got another idea that I can do for this. All right, let's go here. So lucky to call you a friend. Let's go in with the embossing powder. And let's go and heat set that. Whoops, we got a little mucked up there. Now I've really got that mucked up on that thing. So I do have some brushes that I do use on my embossing. And that's really kind of mucked up there. Maybe it'll... try this. There we go. And like I say, now we can come in with this. We want it a little closer, so I'm just going to cut that. We're going to slide that right in to the bottom. That gives us that ticket punch. I'm going to cut this part off here as well and slide that right in. There we go. And now that can go up there. But like, to me, it's too stark again, so I'm going to come in with that brush again. The luck of the Irish. And it's not too much of a St. Patrick's Day card that if it's somebody that isn't Irish, they would quite appreciate it, I'm sure. There we go. And that's going to go right up there. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put this guy on. Here. Remember, we've got him dancing, right? And now we can go ahead and put that on there with dimensions. And like I said at the very beginning, this is going to be kind of like a mishmash of everything. This came from around the bend. This is the gnome dies. There's deckled ones. We have some celebration stuff on there. And then, of course, this tag punch. Ticket tag punch, but it's not called that. It's called something else. I knew what it was before the video. All right, so let's go ahead and put that there. And you know, I'm wondering, oh, beautiful card. I don't know if he's so beautiful, but he is fun. But we do have to put some embellishments on there. That's all there is to it. We need something on there. So to me, I'm thinking the iridescent rhinestones. I think they'll kind of show up. So I'm going to kind of put one right in the middle of this shamrock right here. You know what? That one's too big. Let's go with the littler one. So that'll be for our shamrock. And one there and one here. Sometimes this is where I have the hardest time, is where to place these. All right. So there's our, and you know what? I could have even colored those too if I wanted to, but I thought, and yeah, they do kind of pick up the green that's on there. All right. So then we have the inside of the card. And it was like, I have a piece that's here. So all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim that down. And we're going to do it, kind of want it lengthwise. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to see if it's going to work. No. So I'm going to take off about, I'm going to give it about 3/4 of an inch. Well, maybe 3/4 of an inch is better. And if you wanted to, you could turn around and see this is going to go on the inside. So this has to be at 3 3/4, so 3 1/2. So you could go and do some more of those shamrocks like this with the hearts. But I think this will be enough just to have this part here. And then what I like to also do along with the designer series paper on the inside of the card is I like to have a bit of sponging on it. Thank you. So we're just going to go and just put a bit of this here. And this is where you're going to be doing some writing or some more stamping. So just like that. Let's go ahead and glue that on. And just like so. So there we go. We have a dancing Irish gnome is what we've got. And so lucky to call you a friend. Really works. So like I say, that I did that with the gnome dies. And sometimes it's good to go back to some of that old stuff and go back to our catalog and mix it up with a bunch of different things. So we have the celebration, we have the gnome die, we have this, which is from the framed florets, and then these hearts that came from the around the band, that one strip that I didn't use the other night with the hearts in there. So I hope you enjoyed that. You always associate dark green with St. Patrick's Day. Yes, and I totally agree with that, Pam. Happy Labels Punch. I can always count on you, Betty, to let me know. So yes, we did turn around and use the Happy Labels Punch on there. So that was kind of a fun way to use that as well. So lots of different things on this card. So I hope. Oh, thanks, Cynthia. I really do appreciate that. So remember your dancing gnome. He's doing the jig is what he's doing. He's doing the jig because of his friend. So in any event. All right. So thank you so much. Don't forget to submit your mystery cards. Remember, if you live in Canada, you could win the draw for a stamp set. And if you live outside of Canada, you could win a draw for a tutorial. Just because that's Stampin' Up policy that I can't do that. Put it in the group that's just down below. And basically, I do a draw once a month, once for the mystery and once for the sketch challenge. So if you like that, give me the thumbs up, share my video. I really do appreciate you doing that for me. And if you live in Canada and do not have a demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. In any event, you guys have a great rest of the day. And I will see you tomorrow night at 6:30 Pacific time with Now What? We're going to play with something that maybe you don't know how to use. Maybe you have used it. Maybe I might show you another way of using it. But in any event, remember to create because it's great for the soul. Bye for now.